When I think about the best final that the EULCS has ever had, it was the Summer Splits in 2015, Fnatic versus Origen. It went to 5 full games, and it is one of my fondest memories of the EULCS.
That previous inhib fight may have been enough. Tibbers finds Peke. Peke does not have time. He's down. He's down. Double kill for Huni. Triple kill for Huni. That's the game.
I'm even more excited that Fnatic versus Origen is the match of the week to debut the 2019 LEC. 2 fan favorites of the league, but things could not be more different. Between 2015 summer and now, Origen, they were relegated from the league. They've had to rebuild their organization, and the only returning member is Miffy, and he has to rebuild his reputation after a struggling year in North America.
I don't come here to please anyone other than myself and my own expectations and what I work for, and that's really what drives me to be better, not what other people think.
The organization behind Origen is the same organization behind the #1 CSGO team on the planet. They also have Expecca and Deficio to build, nurture, and develop Origen.
I want to see the veterans, the mature players we have on this team really show up on stage together. I don't care if you meet Fnatic in week 1, week 5, or week 10 or whatever, it doesn't matter. You have to beat them anyway. So facing them early, perfect.
Fnatic take to the 2019 season with a gigantic change in the mid lane. Their star player, Caps, is gone. Fnatic have picked up a mid laner from the LVP, and he's stepping into gigantic shoes. The one benefit that Nemesis has is he's surrounded by an all-star cast. 4 of Fnatic's 5 members that made it to the World Championship final.
I was a big part of why Nemesis ended up joining our team, because I fully believe in him and I think he's going to be the next big thing.
Youngbuck will be at the helm of developing the new talent in Nemesis. Youngbuck is called the 6-star general because of his 6 consecutive European titles.
While I have extremely high expectations of Whipple, I think he's proven himself on an international level. I think it's about time that Alfari was able to show that he is worthy of being in the conversation of one of the best in Europe. And you have 2 pretty solid veterans now having to learn to cooperate. So the fact that you have Nemesis going up against NukeDuck will be a big telling as to how well Nemesis can hold up against some of the veteran talent in our region. Miffy, I have confidence in, will be able to prove something in that matchup and will be able to show that he still has some of the fire that he had.
And if Origen step up and deliver against a world finalist Fnatic, this could be the rebirth of that rivalry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our match of the week. It's Origen versus Fnatic, and we've got Foscuring joining Vedius and myself on the desk.
It's the Medi Frost time.
There's no dance, right?
No, there's no dance. Don't worry about that.
We can do one if you want.
No.
That's she'll with time. She'll
okay,
grow.
we'll
just like Deficio.
Yeah, oh yeah, Deficio joined in so much.
He loved it so much he left.
Yes.
Now we're very excited for this matchup. It is a rematch of the Summer 2015 finals between 2 of these massive organizations. It was before I was even a caster, but every European fan should be able to remember how iconic that best of 5 really was.
I wasn't even in this region. I remember how iconic it was, Fnatic Black versus Fnatic Orange, and hopefully we get to see these 2 organizations continue to rise and prepare here.
Especially after yesterday, when both the organizations perhaps struggled a little bit in their first games. A few mistakes causing them to fall down, causing them to both take losses on day 1.
Yeah, and I think it was, I mean, I think the losses were quite different though, because
definitely.
you look at Origen and you compare G2 to yesterday to today, G2 just stomped, right? And you look at Fnatic, they struggled in terms of a synergy perspective. They couldn't even really challenge SK Gaming. And I think that what fascinates me is, will we see a better Fnatic today? Will their synergy be more on point? And what kind of Origen will we actually see once they're actually allowed to play League of Legends past the 15-minute mark?
I do want to focus in a little bit on some of the adjustments that Fnatic made when they had the opportunity, and that was to change up the jungle matchup. I much preferred Broxah on his Lee Sin, and I hope to see that same kind of aggressive, proactive style again. I want the world's Broxah. I don't want the supportive Broxah.
Well, if we could not have the world's finals Broxah, because that one wasn't quite as good. But we are into picks and bans. Fnatic on the blue side, Origen on the red. Cassio, Irelia bans, very standard so far, and the Aatrox removed by Origen.
So nothing too surprising as of yet. Origen being on the red side, they do have to usually ban more of the power picks because they don't want to hand over one strong, or they don't want to hand over that Lucian or maybe even the Galio. But what it does mean is that they can then trade it for 2 slightly stronger picks later in the draft.
And I'm just kind of curious what type of agency players are going to take over the priority in the skill check. You know, we haven't seen the Karthus taken away, but we have seen Karthus be very successful, especially against Origen. I don't know how many more teams are scrimming with it or have it in their pockets, checking solo queue. I do see it pop up a lot more often now across the LEC. So, you know, do Origen have a little bit of shock factor left over from yesterday and are prepared for a Karthus pick, or do Fnatic even play it?
Talk to me a little bit about that skill check idea, though, Frosky, because it's a word and phrase we talk about quite a lot, but some people at home might not quite understand.
I mean, it's the idea that you would leave something powerful open in the hopes that you have the ability to beat it, either through a counter pick because you feel confident in the matchup, or you're going to trade it for something that just means more in your eyes or your opportunity.
At the moment, Origen have left the Urgot open for Fnatic.
But Lucian is also available. Interestingly, Fnatic have foregone that power pick in the bot side of the map in exchange for giving that flexibility to Bwipo and Nemesis with the Urgot. Now, yesterday we did see Alphari go for the Scion into an Urgot matchup against Wonder. He was struggling a little bit in the laning phase, but that's kind of what you'd expect in the matchup. I wonder where they put their priority now. I think they should try and grab themselves a Lucian. And I also think that maybe they just get either the Galio or the Lissandra right now.
Or they could try to prioritize the jungle matchup, but if they want to take the counter pick, they can leave it for longer. Another flex pick would certainly make sense.
Yeah.
I like Xin Zhao. I also really like Alistar. Mithy has shown he's a very good Alistar player just throughout his history, and it's a strong blind pick support if you want it. With the Rakan off the cards, it does a lot of work, but it looks like at the moment they are going towards that Xin Zhao.
So Cold is going to be on an aggressive jungler. Remember that this doesn't typically fit into his playstyle. Yesterday we saw him on the Gragas. He wasn't able to have much of an impact in the early game, and by the time he'd completed his first item, the game was kind of falling apart around him. But the agency will fall on him now. He needs to invest resources towards the bot side of the map. If you have Lucian and you have Xin, you're definitely looking for aggression towards that side of the map.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a target that's been drawn there. So now it's what do you complement with it? We expect it to be a hard engagement support like the Alistar that Medic is talking about, or something that can help set up kill pressure on this bottom side, since you want to support Patrick to pop off on Lucian.
Now I do wonder if Nukeduck goes for something like a Corki later on in the draft. Remember, we did see that picked initially into Nemesis when their first game against SK, and it worked extremely well. And let's not forget that Nukeduck, he got his pentakill back in the day on that Corki. It's a champion that he's very familiar with and fits into a lot of comps in the current meta.
I just feel like there's a lot of champions left over, though, if they do want to target at the Corki. I think Corki, Lissandra, Scion, all these champions are probably either going to be banned or picked within the next kind of couple rotations here.
We are going to see the Braum lock in finally for Mithy. There's a Thresh ban, there's the Corki ban, so good prediction on that, Vedius. We'll see what comes next from Origen. Where do you want to pinch that pool?
I would hit the Tom Kench. Frankly, if I'm running Lucian and Braum, I would love to take away another support that can disengage or create a lot of safety in that bot lane.
I think that's a pretty good ban. They could also consider banning some of the AD carries out. Sivir and Kai'Sa are 2 big picks that are up and available that Reckless could go towards, because you're now looking at this draft with an Urgot and a Galio. And I thought Tristana, I didn't say it because I was like, surely you'd go for something like a Kai'Sa, but still showing the respect towards Reckless that he has built up for himself over the many years of pro play.
Wait, Reckless plays Tristana? Who would know?
He does indeed, my friend.
The Corki ban is followed up by Lissandra on the side of Fnatic. First pick for Origen in this second rotation. Not going to be looking towards an AD carry. They've got their top laner and their mid laner left to pick.
So still a flex pick, though, as they lock into the Swain, so not revealing their hand. It's still leaving that last pick for the counter.
And Alphari is actually a really big fan of the Swain. He did play it a fair amount with Misfits last year. I feel like that it is more likely to go to him rather than Nukeduck. But the one thing you can always say about Nukeduck is he has a champion Ocean. He plays pretty much everything, so it's quite easily be flexed between the two, which means the Origen are guaranteed to have the more comfortable matchups for themselves.
I also really like Swain in tandem with Lucian, because I feel like Swain offers a lot of protection for Lucian to be aggressive. He's still a mid-range, if not short-range ADC.
Yeah, I saw Reckless take his hands off his keyboard as well, so I think perhaps we have another one of our lobby mistakes there. It's not going to be the Evelynn. We will get that rectified, of course, as soon as possible. But picks and bans up until now. We talked about in the first round for Origen, the Lucian Xin Braum meant they want to play around the bot lane. Does the Swain facilitate that, or is it just looking to be a safe laner in the top or the mid?
I don't think it's necessarily about going down to the bot lane. But again, I think Swain creates such a lovely zone in team fights that Lucian can really be unlocked to skate around, to be aggressive if he wants to, because trying to dive back onto a backline with a Lucian and a Swain is just, it's death. Then you add a Braum on top of that. So I really like the protection for the backline, as it feels like they're setting up Patrick for a lot of success in these team fights. And then if, Alfari or Nuke Duck pop off on the Swain, it's even better.
The thing that I'm looking at right now is the limited engage that Origen have outside of the Xin Zhao.
I mean, Sion's still available, and I expect it to be the last pick.
It is still available, and you're right, it can be blinded. I would then rather the Swain goes into the Urgot, and then you have the Sion into the Galio matchup. I think that would be the best lane setup for Origen, but that is the primary thing that we're missing from them right now. Just a means to actually start these fights off and start snowballing the game if they're able to successfully get Patrick and Mithy ahead.
And that was a big problem for them yesterday against G2, where they just got poked out. They could never really find an engage. G2 were just able to pick them off one by one across the course of the map. We don't see a similar pick composition here from Fnatic, and much more team fight oriented, dive oriented comp, it seems, from the Fnatic side.
Well, I think that when you're drafting Urgot, Kha'Zix, Galio, you're kind of looking at that dual threat comp where you rely on your jungler and AD carry to be the primary damage dealer in these later game fights, and then you have this massive front line that you can look to play around. So you typically call them like front to back compositions, where you just hide behind your front line and you just slowly work your way forward.
What would a back to front composition be? Juggermore, I guess?
I don't think you have back to front composition.
Like Juggermore, you put Juggermore on the front line, everyone else stands behind him.
I think it's more than about separating and not doing a 5v5, but like a 3v3 or 2v2 when all of those fights break down into skirmishes. Then you're looking for flanking champions, Medic.
Back to front composition.
Well, I don't know. We have a front to back. We must have a back to front as well. It's logical.
The big thing about front to back fighting is the ability to kill the tank line, because then it's really just a race of, can your damage dealers cut through that meaty front line before the other ones do? And if the answer is no, you automatically lose those.
So does Origen have the tools to do that then? Is Lucian enough? Is Swain enough to actually cut through that front line?
It's Fnatic that are drafting more the front to back right now, whereas when you kind of look at how...
He asked the question correctly.
Yeah, Origen need to get through that front line.
Oh,
so
no.
how do they do it?
Sorry, yeah. I misheard. I apologize.
It's all right, Vedius. I forgive you.
Right now, no. Lucian isn't that great at killing tanks. Depending, like, you want to try and leverage the mid-game spike that he does have at 2 items, like the Blade of the Ruin King plus the Black Cleaver. And when you have a Xin Zhao as well, it's just one of those games where you're just kind of relying on getting ahead in the early game and being able to maintain that kind of a lead. But they're much more geared towards skirmishing and kind of the composition that Frostgrim was talking about, having these 3v3s, 2v2s taking advantage of. And you can also play the map a little bit more. If you have Swain off in one side lane and maybe a Sion off in the other, it means you can just kind of create map pressure everywhere and look for these picks kind of all around the map.
Well, I do see pick and ban just jumping back up on our screen, so I assume we'll run through the picks and bans until we got to that point and then see exactly if the same problem exists still on Reckless's client or if not, and hopefully rectified and we get on into the game.
And just a reminder, Vedius and I were kind of pinging some issues that we saw with Origen's comp, the fact that they don't have a lot of reliable hard engage right now. Sion's available. I expect that to be kind of the final pick, and I believe we're waiting for the revealing bot lane, the ADC.
The bot lane, yes. Yeah. And my expectations are that it would be a Kai'Sa. Given she has the ability to self-peel and can be paired up with a wide array of supports, I just think that it would make a lot of sense. I believe, was Alistair taken off the... I suppose you don't want to play an Alistair into a Braum either, really.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad one for the Alistair. You can't just get locked up as soon as you jump in.
So Thresh was banned away, and that was the only support. You could maybe go for a Morgana, especially if you're going more towards the scaling side.
Works against the Xin as well. You can
if he wants to go safe, he's got Morgana or Tahm Kench available to him.
I do like
Tahm Kench, yeah.
Has been doing so much roaming. It didn't work out for him yesterday, but with the Tahm Kench and the Abyssal Voyage, he could try to make another crack at it, especially because Broxah is now on a very aggressive jungler like the Kha'Zix.
It also gives you the option to play that more 1-3-1 style with the Galio. If you can rotate around the lanes a lot quicker with Galio and the Abyssal Voyage, you can catch people off in side lanes pretty easily.
I also think that in the event that OG tried to split up the map, Tahm Kench is just really good at being able to then move to these side lanes, so that if someone's being caught out of position, you have a Galio follow-up and a Tahm Kench, and suddenly that 2v2 turns into a 5v2.
Yep.
What I also love about Kench and tandem with Kha'Zix is when you want to turn and burn on a Baron. If anyone's ever out of position, you can very quickly use the Tahm Kench ultimate to get your jungler in position. And again, you leave a Kha'Zix alone with any sort of team comp on a Baron and he'll just shred through it.
He certainly will. So we are just making sure that the draft and clients are working perfectly before we jump back in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for bearing with us. This will be a very exciting game. Fnatic and Origen, a rematch of the 2015 Summer Finals, is guaranteed to be a good one. We are just checking right now if Fnatic can lock in their AD carry, and it will be a Jhin.
Okay.
So I think when you kind of look at the draft that Origen have, it is quite squishy. One of Jin's biggest weaknesses is that he struggles to get through tanks because he only has those 4 shots. But when you have this kind of a comp, when there is no real tank, and he has a massive front line to play around, he's actually in a much better position to find success.
I also love the long range engage and initiation potential. When you have a curtain call, when you have a Galio, when you have a Kha'Zix, I love the chase threat that this composition can have to force and start fights if Fnatic ever get ahead and they feel, okay, we were going to force you to fight us.
I guess the question now for Origen is, do you pick a tank to try and deal with the Jhin who can't work his way through tanks? If you do, what do you have to work your way through the tanks on the side of Fnatic? Only the Lucian really with that mid-game. Whoa, no!
It's Vayne top!
Whoa, no, you didn't just do that to me!
Yeah, it's Vayne top.
No way!
So this is one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the LEC.
Oh wait,
Lucian mid?
They're swapping around. Hold on. So the reason why we're yelling for Vayne top is because we think that it's a counter to Urgot.
Yes, and it's one of those things where Vayne can be flexed into multiple roles. We've seen it mid from Caps. I believe even last year it was considered a good pick into Urgot. It was something that people were talking about at the World Championship. Now, 20 seconds is the deadline. We always mention it, ladies and gentlemen. There's still no engage, but that split push comp that we were talking about, the 1-3-1, definitely very prevalent for Origen. It will be the Vayne mid lane. Caps is Essence returning to the LEC.
That was the last time we saw it. Into Misfits. Caps clapping Hans Sama at the end, winning the game for Fnatic and taking them through to those summer playoffs. Now, the boot is on the other foot. NukeDuck says, anything Fnatic can do, I can do better.
It is a divide and conquer composition. Their ability, if they get ahead, to split up the map, to isolate 1v1s, to look for these skirmishes is devastating if any of these champions get ahead on top of Origen. I expect that they're going to be pushing for trade priority in lanes, always having kill pressure, keeping their opponents low, and then opening up so much space for the Xin Zhao to invade Broxah over and over.
Vedius for Skurin. There's a lot of history around this matchup. Fnatic up against Origen. In summer of 2015, Fnatic and Origen battled for supremacy in the best finals Europe has ever known. From Huni to Reignover, Expectate to Spend, the players that pass through these organizations are the faces that defined my generation of League of Legends, and these are the teams that forged the region that is Europe. Today, I am overjoyed to be part of a continuation of that great story. Today, we all get to become part of history because we are EU, Berlin, Europe. This is your match of the week. It's Fnatic versus Origen.
Very excited for this one. We have some very interesting picks. Reckless on his OG Jhin, bringing out originally back in an IEM where I believe they made it to the finals. And now NukeDuck on Vayne, a champion that I've never really associated with NukeDuck, but we'll see how that works out for him.
So we've seen a couple different keystones as we trade some HP back and forth. It's not going to be the Hail of Blades Vayne, it's instead of the Kleptomancy. So we're actually getting real frisky in these level 1 setups.
Yeah, they're really trying to get a bit of deep vision, find out where Broxah is starting in these early levels. I do believe that Broxah is also using the Fnatic Kha'Zix skin. Great homage to the World Championship. But yeah, so far in this early laning phase, pre-laning phase rather, OG trying to just get a bit of aggression in. Cold actually moving his way towards the top side. Looks like that he will be starting on the red buff, whereas Broxah doing the same on the bottom side of the map.
Could also always set up for a delayed invade with Braum, incredibly powerful there, but it looks like they're instead just going to take the priority over the bot side and make sure that they get to the minion wave first for Patrick and Mithy.
They do have that ward in the tri-brush. They may even set up some awkward situation for Reckless and Hylissang, but for now they're just going to quickly get into the laning phase, make sure that the wave is bouncing towards them.
And it's also for the fact that Cold started on the top side, which means he does have clear pathing down towards that bottom side for an early gank if he wants to. We said that, you know, it's all about Patrick and Mithy. This is the Lucian priority, this is the Braum that goes in tandem with it, and you got an aggressive jungler for Xin Zhao to just have a massive target down here.
Now, Often in the current meta, we talk a lot about priority and pressure in lanes. And when you kind of look across the board, for Origen, they have a winning lane mid, they have a winning pushing lane bot, and the only lane that's kind of neutral even is in the top side of the map. And note that there was a very early control ward coming out from Alphari. He dropped it in the tri-brush, and this has given Cold the freedom to move into the lane. Bwipo has no idea that he's hanging around here, but he should be aware that the risk of a level 2 gank is realistic.
Maybe even looking to steal away this blue. Cold started up, Box is in the bush. Knows that Cold's there, Cold doesn't realize, and just gonna get a little bit of a trade on here. Boxer will have that blue leash back towards him, and Cold has to back away.
We'll get the Scuttle Crab, however, so double Scuttle means that Cold still gets something for a lot of his jungle tempo so far.
Just going to be clearing out that Scuttle Crab. Oh, you can see in the mid lane, Nukeduck getting a lot of pressure down. You already talked about the Kleptomancy coming into fruition for the Vayne. Will help get her to those core item spikes that much earlier in the game as well.
And I also want to touch back again on the early vision from Origen, as well as the double Scuttle. Because most of their lanes on the bottom side are all pressed forward, it's going to give them a natural safety net that they can continue to be hyper aggressive in their lanes, and again, open up space for Zen. But there's the one pocket,
Good
and
flash
Brox
away.
has slipped in.
Yeah, very
Good
quick
flash.
reaction speeds there from Alphari. And Fnatic, they tried to set up that play. Wanted to make a bit of a difference from what we saw yesterday, where Broxah, he struggled to have an early game impact. Already burning the flash from Alphari. With the wave set up the way it is, this is a very awkward situation for Alphari. You can see how defensive he has to play right now, because he has no knowledge of where the enemy jungler is, and Bwipo has set up a very nice freeze.
And as much as our eyes have been on the top side of the map here, Bwipo's going to teleport in. I want to look down towards the bottom side as well, because Patrick actually has about a 9 CS lead here over Reckless and Hylissang in this lane. There's about 3 or 4 CS here that Reckless can match, but that early push seems to be paying off for Origen.
And frankly, it can sometimes just be very frustrating to last hit under tower as the Jhin. You know, things can get messed up, whether you're trying to use your bouncing grenade or maybe you're trying to reload through that forced shot. So that's not good.
He's got to flash out of here, you have to think. No real way for anyone to get near him. Flashes away from the captive audience. Here's Hylissang with a flash forward, though, and now Nukeduck tries to come up to help his support. The Guardian will proc, but eventually that is going to be a very dead Mithy, well out of position. Good stuff from Fnatic.
Yep, trying to get Agent Mithy out of the backline, but unfortunately too little too late. He loses a lot of that. Not having his flash means that he also loses a lot of aggressive potential in that bot lane that they really wanted to take advantage of.
I'm just disappointed that Mithy just didn't flash into the Dragon Pit. It was the safest play for him to make. It would have been a lot easier for Patrick to get close, provide that heal and safety net as well. And the problem with it is it also gives a kill over to Nemesis, and while he is really struggling in this laning phase, having that extra bit of gold will alleviate all the torment that he's currently suffering from Nukeduck.
The fact that he's got the teleport as well to get back into that lane means he goes back, gets himself the Doran's Ring alongside of that Dark Seal. Still only sitting at the level 5. We would want to see him get towards the level 6 and then try to combine with Boxer for a gank somewhere.
And again, that's the big difference maker. While we're very excited to see the Vayne in the mid lane, ultimately you're trading your lane priority for your team priority. Galio's going to have that level 6. Eventually will probably get unlocked from that lane and then start impacting other side waves. Whereas Nukeduck probably going to be buttoned up here until he's maybe just chasing Nukeduck on Nemesis on one of these roams.
Box is going to try and sneak in towards this mid lane, maybe just looking for a counter gank more than anything.
Yes, that's true, but I also think he might be looking for an opportunity. The thing they have to respect is the potential 2v1. Nukeduck is level 6. The final hour changes to Q mean that you have a lot more mobility, even early levels into the game. So Broxah has to be very careful, but now you see Cold making his way.
Cold's on his way, just around the corner. There's the final hour pop. Boxer just using the jump to get Nukeduck away from the lane. They do get the ultimate out, that's a win, but maybe Cold will spot Broxah out here. He knows he's on the Wolves, has the blast gun, going to jump in. Broxah still has the flash if he can get away, but already Cold takes him. The Halo Blade's doing work in the jungle.
Exactly that. The amount of burst that came out from Cold meant that Broxah couldn't even react, and now Nemesis being zoned away from his tower. Origen back on the board, a whole 1,000 gold ahead.
And even Mithy taking a pathway up here just to have so much pressure and mean that this entire wave is denied from Nemesis.
And we talked about it in Pick and Ban. There was a very big discrepancy between explain how these two teams lost yesterday. Origen just seemed to be outdrafted. They laned well, they played well, but G2 were just better on the day. Fnatic, there were struggles, there were strategy errors, there were macro errors, and that seems to be coming out here even early in this game.
It just doesn't look like they have the same presence in the mid lane that opens up a lot of the aggressive Fnatic plays. Now that said, I think that they can create it in different ways. I'm particularly looking at Hilly on this Alistar. I want to see him get out of this lane and go back into that Hilly that we know and love, where he's constantly teaming up with Broxah and ganking on that mid lane.
What I really like is that Origen came in with a plan. They left the Galio open. They expected it to come out from the side of Fnatic, given that Nemesis did pick it up yesterday. And Nukeduck, he came out with the Vayne. And the irony is it was a capped classic, the former mid laner of Fnatic, that is now demolishing Nemesis in that 1v1. Remember the difference, last time we saw it, it was all about trying to camp that Vayne, trying to put that Vayne behind by just working with something like a Kha'Zix Galio to just constantly lock her down. But they haven't been able to do that so far as Galio hanging around the bot side of the map.
Mithy locked up underneath, against the bush here, gonna jump away, has the heal as well, Ignite ticking, not quite enough, but Rekkles will flash forward for the kill. Patrick able to answer with some damage of his own, but it's not quite enough to chunk out anyone from Fnatic.
Very patient play from Fnatic, and it wasn't Hilly teaming up with Brox in the mid lane, it was in the bot lane, but sitting on multiple control wards, making sure that they had a safe path down that river, and then just waiting for it.
Good stuff from the Fnatic bot lane, alongside, of course, Broxah from the jungle. He had a little bit of a weak game yesterday, I think. Just not quite settling back onto the LEC stage. And the early portion of this game didn't really have as much impact as he would have liked. Cold's now invading him, has a bit of a CS lead as well in that jungle role. And because of the pressure Nukeduck's put in towards this mid lane and the pressure they've had bot lane, Origen in a very good spot.
The thing is, oh, sorry for Oscar, but the key thing here is that Fnatic are trying to punish the flashless Mithy, who's still only level 5. The decision-making is good, the setup is clean as well. Mithy just gets a little too close. You can see Patrick positioning in a way that's like, I don't feel too safe about this, but I'm also going to position in a way that allows you to jump to me. Just the combined CC of the Alistar into the Reckless W was enough to lock him down and find themselves the kill. So, like the play from Fnatic, they now sit at 2 kills, but that deficit in the mid lane is resulting in a massive gold lead for Origen.
On your screen, you can see Whippo, who's been playing a pretty even matchup in the top lane. If you want to have a look at his point of view, you can jump on over to twitch.tv/RiotGames2, and you can look on YouTube if you want to see as well. You can see darting all around the map, looking at Nemesis, looking at himself. Where's he going to look next? Top lane? What a surprise. It's a top laner.
Sold that real well.
Yeah.
I'm bought. I want to watch the point of view stream now.
I love it. Sometimes this really cool guy does a dissection of the point of view stream as well.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
No. It's not picks to watch, I'll admit.
So Origen now setting up to take the dragon. Have a look at the vision around the bot side of the map. You can see 2 control wards along with 2 wards on the Raptors as well. The river entirely belongs to them. They have pressure in mid. Very clean setup, and it results in an uncontested Drake.
And I agree. It's a beautiful setup from Origen, but it's over a Cloud Drake. You know, Fnatic, they're not really super keen to invest that much gold into securing that type of objective, especially when Jhin and Alistar are just hiding under their tower. So, I mean, it's nice to see from Origen, but ultimately I'm Fnatic. I'm like, I just saved money. They didn't have to spend any money to clear that vision.
That's true, but Origen have money to spare. They're 1,300 gold ahead.
And take the free objectives when they're given.
Exactly. You get a Cloud Drake, you got to move a little bit faster. At the moment, across the board, they are just ahead in terms of CS as well. Look at the difference in mid, almost a 50 farm discrepancy for Nemesis, falling behind once again against his enemy laner. Expected to in this matchup, but not a good sign in terms of how Nemesis plays the lane.
I mean, the thing is, at this point, there's really little you can do against the Vayne. We really needed to see early ganks from Fnatic, just deny or getting that cleanse out of the Vayne early so that she can't play as aggressive as she wants, because if you ever get taunted, that's it, you die. The burst from a Kha'Zix and a Galio would have rendered her useless in a matter of seconds. So, but they haven't been able to do that. He has free reign over the mid lane. He's got perfect CS so far, and he's very close to completing that play to the ring.
Which is the more important aspect of Origen's vision, not the Cloud Dragon, but the fact that, again, they constantly want to make sure that they have scuttle control, that they have vision control of these high traffic areas to keep Nukeduck safe, so he can continue to be a bully and be hyper forward in this lane.
Just another champion to add to his ocean on the Vayne this game. We talked a little bit about in Pick and Ban about how Fnatic had this, front-to-back team composition. It feels like Origen said, okay, we'll answer that. We'll take a Vayne, get some true damage in there, just try and work our way through that front line. But what are the next steps for these two teams coming in here? How do Origen actually accelerate the game from here? And do they even want to?
No, they don't. when we saw the Lucian Braum, initially we thought that that would be the lane that they primarily played around, but with the introduction of a Vayne and Swain, they now have a lot more late game options. They can kind of move towards the side lanes. They can play this 1-through-1 a little bit more, but I think it's still important to remember that when you have a Galio Urgot, that team fighting cannot afford to be underestimated. So it's one of those situations where I would like to see the Xin Zhao keeping this pressure up, making sure that that Vayne gets to that core item point. And then once Nukeduck and Patrick have hit 2 items, then Origen need to be forcing things. That's when they need to start really being proactive on the board.
I agree. I feel like the onus is on Fnatic right now. And if you look at Hilly's items, you can see that he rushed the Mobies there. He's on the Alistar. And with his back, I want to see Hilly run somewhere else on the map. I don't want to see him just immediately run it back into the bot lane and then wait for the Galio.
Well, it looks like that he is wandering around the map along with Mithy.
Well, you'd expect that he's going to at least clear out his own jungle. Usually what happens after the support's back is they grab control wards and they do a quick sweep.
Ooh, Whippo.
He's running bottom because
he goes golden quite early here. Just get forced back by Whippo, but pull back underneath the tower. There's the demonic ascension from Alphari. Still trading in here. The Vision of Empire not going to connect, and both the top laners will just trade ult for ult in the moment.
That flash from Alphari will be expended to keep himself alive. He was worried that Whippo was going to land the Q at the very end, but he didn't even need to use it. Now Alphari's in some serious trouble.
Boxer comes in the invis. There's the disdain. Alphari going to fall. Fnatic pick up that 3rd kill of the game.
The flash disdain combo from the Urgot coming out as well. If you do it correctly, it can actually initiate faster than a Malphite ultimate, so it's very hard to get out of that one.
LEC should be able to get away from this, though, with a blast cone. A little plant to help. That's why you eat your vegetables, everyone. I know a lot of people maybe have fallen away from their resolutions, but if you keep up to them, you can get away from Braums and Lucians.
Now, Fnatic do still hold on to the kill lead. They're sitting pretty even in gold, and remember, that was a pretty big discrepancy, largely because of the gold lead that Nukeduck was building up for himself. If we swap over to the gold, we can actually see where that gap is starting to close. It is sitting up in the top lane, along with the AD carry position, and in the support position as well. So Fnatic not completely out of this yet. They still have options in this early stage of play. They haven't lost any towers as of yet, and you're kind of still looking at this trio of Whippo, Nemesis, and Broxah to try and force some kind of plays.
Bold needs to be a little bit careful here. He has Swain pulling down.
I wonder if they're trying to force this fight a little bit as well.
They are, because Mickey's rotating.
Mickey's on his way up. They're trying to bait it just a little bit. Say, come on Fnatic, you can take this fight if you want to, but instead they're going to back away with Toad secured here for Origen. And this is a very good performance from them thus far. Strong, clean early game. Not being as volatile as some of the games we've seen, but both teams will be pretty content with how the game's going so far.
It's effectively just building small incremental advantages off of your laning power. When they drafted this composition, they drafted all winning lanes, and then slowly but surely it's just been creating pressure for Cold to make moves and grabs what he wants on the map. And now with the Rift Herald, that's the big one that should break this open and start to speed up the game a bit.
Here it goes. Turret plating will fall off at 15 minutes, I believe. Was it 14 minutes? 14 minutes, which means it's not on at the moment. So the Rift Herald should get a massive charge off. Not able to take the tower out completely because Boxer comes in with the Void Assault. Nukeduck dodging around as much as he can. That final hour helping out with the tumble, of course, but you do have to come out of the invisibility for the tumble to reset.
Yeah, but that rotation means that we're going to fight in the bot.
Double TP towards the bot side of the map.
Cold's on his way down as well. There's the counter TP. Whippo in here. Nemesis as well. It looks like Mithy's the one to be caught out. Hillisan coming down as well. Mithy will be sacrificed for the team. Nukeduck still pushing in that mid lane, trying to take the tower as quickly as possible.
But Fnatic do keep their bot tier 1 alive. They will end up losing this tower, but they end up trading 2 teleports for a kill. They can likely convert this into a Drake, but a tower of their own, as Origen will be forced to back away.
Nemesis just taking the Boxer taxi there to the mid lane. It's like, oh, give us a lift, mate. Okay, only if you pay for petrol money. And that's the ultimate that he used to get across.
He's got waves to catch. He wants to make sure that Vayne just doesn't, get a bit of free chip damage on that tower, and there's no need for him bottom.
So now Origen will send their bot lane up towards the top side. If they can get their bot lane duo hitting onto that tower as soon as possible, they can likely secure another objective, and it means that Alphari can catch this wave that's making its way towards him. Now here, Origen just don't recognize that there is a ward sitting behind them. They think this is a free tower because they recognize that Alistar isn't there. But then the moment they spot it, the double TP comes in, and Mithy's like, I will sacrifice myself. And unfortunately, he's just a little too out of range of Patrick to be able to W towards him. So he gives away his life. But overall, the fact that all the deaths are on Mithy, I think is fine for the side of Origen. It means that they still sit in the gold lead, and they're still able to maintain pressure across the board.
Two veteran players on both these teams, of course. They they are the wrong way around. Mithy has 3 titles and he's on the red side. And Reckless has 4 titles and he is on the blue side of this game. But the sentiment remains the same. They both got a lot of titles between them.
It's quite a rivalry that has existed for a long time. Very storied player is Mithy throughout EU's history, known as one of the best bot lanes that Europe has ever had, alongside Sven, which was parted after this year, after Sven stayed on TSM and Mithy returned to Europe. He's now going back up against Reckless and Hylissang, who were the most convincing bot lane of summer last split. We'll see if they can return to form this split, as Mithy once again caught out.
Fear Beyond Death comes out, Curtain Call as well, but already they've turned it onto Hylissang. Mithy puts up the wall, Broxah having to run away, Nukeduck flashing forward, they're just going for this, the fight continues, here comes the hero's entrance, but can they save Broxah in time? Just about alive, Nemesis looking for the taunt, but Nukeduck's just going to open up hell and put Silver Bolt after Silver Bolt into the back of the Galio. The turnaround from Whippo, and Reckless takes down Patrick, puts him in his spot, and that is a great turnaround for Fnatic. Tower falls down towards the bottom lane, Alfari gets it, the fight continues as Whippo pushes forward, but I think Origen should get out alive.
And Nemesis managed to turn that fight around and Reckless finished it off. I actually think that was a great engage from the Galio to reposition himself, get into the thick of it, and then zone off with a massive taunt.
In that sort of situation, Origen were not likely to succeed. A lot of area effect in a very close situation allowed Fnatic to at least get themselves 1 kill back. The game is still very close, the gold is still very close, but remember, Origen secured themselves a tower in the bot side of the map. Nukeduck now needs to be careful as Broxah makes his way up top side.
Broxah sneaking in behind Cold and Nukeduck. It would be a 3v2 if they take the fight. Maybe here comes the engage. Hylissang on Nukeduck. Nukeduck turns it onto Reckless straight away. Reckless done! He's gone! Now Broxah's going to join the party, but you can't get the isolation down, and Broxah knocked away with the condemn! Put back, slapped aside by Nukeduck, and Origen take 2.
And Cold showed how much damage this Xin Zhao can provide. He made Reckless disappear, and the 2v3 outplay goes in favor of Origen.
And now you have all of Origen. They have complete control over the top side of the map. The wave is pushing in. It's the team fight, it's the outplay, and it's surely going to be the tower.
2-0-2 now on Nukeduck, level 13 Vayne. He has completed the Rage Blade. And Medic, you asked earlier, what are the next steps? Origen have reached that mid-game point. They are primed, poised, and ready to fight. And now Fnatic are the ones that are on the back foot.
Fnatic versus Origen always delivers. Look back at the summer finals in 2015. Look at this game. What a game it's been so far.
Again, a 2v3, but the burst damage that comes out between the Vayne and the Xin Zhao. And Nukeduck didn't even have his ultimate for this. It's still on cooldown when the fight starts. The condemn, though, that's what seals the deal for me. The fact that he disengages from the Kazakhs and then 1, 2, 3 blown up.
Engage onto Nukeduck. This would be a massive 2v3. Hasn't got any mana, though. Can't get away. The taunt's going to land. Shut down by Reckless, long range shot from him.
And that's a big shutdown that just went into the hands of Reckless. Again, if we can flip over to the gold and have a look at how much Reckless is sitting on right now.
You can 700 gold from the bounty.
Yeah, 8,000 gold he's sitting on right now. So you can't afford to be giving away that amount to one of the primary carries on Fnatic. It keeps that gold gap relatively close, and it means that after just building up a pretty significant advantage on the side of Origen, you're kind of giving a lot of it away.
And again, it goes back to that idea that you're talking about, that it's such a squishy composition from Origen. Even if Fnatic do fall behind, if that 4th shot hits, it's going to explode pretty much any member there. Maybe not the Swain, but if he hits the Vayne, it doesn't matter how far ahead he is if he's 1 shot.
Exactly that. I completely agree with you, Frosk. And Reckless, the star of Fnatic, a lot of pressure now falls on his shoulders to be the big carry. This game is still very close. Origen, they're looking confident because they do have Swain reaching that 2-item spike. They have the Vayne, who's already completed the Rage Blade. Things are looking pretty positive for them, but again, Fnatic still have a very solid 5v5. They've got a comp that really enables Reckless to do what he's done so many times before, which is carry in these late game fights.
Talked about how many squishy players there are on Origen. If Reckless gets a rapid fire cannon shot into the back of one of them, a 4th shot's just gonna demolish any of them. Basically, only Mithy would be able to survive through it, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Vision control now for Origen around the Baron. They do not see that ward that Cold is on at the moment.
Call it the Baron Gate ward. It's also really nice if you put it right outside the wall.
They need to do their due diligence here. You can see it. Like Origen, yesterday, played well until they just got poked to death by G2. You have to do the steps. You have to read the manual. You have to set up deep vision. You have to clear out vision. You have to reset when you can, Vedius.
So the the slight variation that you have in the manual is depending on the type of, like, there are different chapters depending on what comp you have.
Oh, okay, so it's like Appendix B or Appendix A.
Exactly, and so depending on the comp you have, depends on how you play around the Baron. Now, the thing about Origen is it ties back in with the squishiness, right? They have no one that can actually tank the Baron while they're doing it. So if they ever start it, they're automatically in a really bad spot because of how much damage they're going to take. Fnatic are the ones that will really be looking to utilize the manual to then set up a clean Baron take, whereas Origen just want to deny vision to find picks, find skirmishes, because they want to force Fnatic into these situations where they can't optimize the full power of their 5v5.
One of the advantages that the Origen comp does have, though, if they approach the Baron, because I agree, if there's no tank there, they would start to get shredded, is that A, they have a ton of burst damage on the Baron themselves. True. If they get to sit on it for long enough, they will just burn it down. And then B, there's not a lot of danger in them starting a Baron and stopping it because of the idea of how quickly they can turn off of the Baron. You have so many champions with different gap closers or the Lucian in the Vayne, the ability to tumble and to ice skate away, that if they start the Baron, they're caught with their hand in the cookie jar, they can quickly just get the hell out of dodge.
OG don't really have any of that deep vision yet. You can see Fnatic littered pink wards in their own jungle to make sure that Origen don't have any deep awareness. Also cleared out the river where Nemesis is. Just all Fnatic vision all the time. If we toggle it here, you'll see Origen basically can see nothing in this area.
I like this gargoyle just patrolling the river like, no, this is the Baron, I will guard it, and if any fight breaks out anywhere, I'll see you guys in a jiffy.
He's the bouncer for River Shen, just in case he's standing around there. If you want to join the river party, you have to get past the bouncer, and that's what Nemesis's job is at the moment. Still sitting around 50 farm behind the Vayne, but as the game progresses, that differential becomes less and less important.
I like how well Fnatic are managing their waves right now. You can see that there's always a point of pressure on the map. At any point in time, there's always one lane that's pushing in their favor, making it difficult for Origen to easily move into the Baron. And as they're clearing all this vision out, Fnatic have gone back to base, they've reset, and look at their inventory stacked full of control wards, and this means that Fnatic, with the pushing bot lane, with Alfari having to deal with this, can very easily walk back into the river and reclaim that Baron control.
And it's also just letting them buy time to kind of make up for the deficits they found themselves in the lane phase. The longer that we sit in kind of this slow down pocket, the closer that Fnatic start to shrink this gold difference. And it is very tiny, but it really just translates into item difference. And again, against OG's comp, against where all their gold is stacked, a lot of their power on that Lucian, on that Vayne, doesn't matter how far behind Nemesis is, if he hints the taunt or if he hits one of his bursts, those champions will just be deleted from the map.
As the teams just face off against each other, clearing out vision in this river, I have a quick stat for you all.
Why does everyone have quick stats today?
Because they're amazing.
Can we not have normal stats?
So, Vedius, you remember when Medius and Vedius, the Find Detective and Doctor duo, oh, looks like there might be a little bit of a fight. Remember when Medius and Vedius, the Find Detective Doctor duo, worked out NukeDuck's mysterious champion Ocean?
I heard about that,
And he had played 19 different champions?
Yes.
Across the course of his EU career, how many different champions do you think he's played?
27.
No? Froskuren? Higher.
35.
46. That's about a third of the champions in the game that this guy has played on a professional level. And this time, it's the Vayne. Scuttlecrab fought over here by Origen and Fnatic, secured by Fnatic, so gives them a little bit more awareness of that river for the time being.
I love this battle for vision. I know to many viewers it may seem dull, like a slow back and forth, but you can really see how much awareness both teams have, that they can't afford to let loose this control. The moment that that Baron vision just slips away entirely is when the game can suddenly snowball in one team's favor.
And this feels like a scenario where both teams are in calm saying, it's totally fine, just continue to slow farm it out, we're looking for our opportunity. So it's really hard to say who this benefits one way or the other.
Is there ever a point where one team says, okay, screw the Baron, we're going to do something else, we're going to force the other side of the map?
I don't know, man. I feel like Origen needs it. They have the option to play on multiple lanes with the Vayne and the Swain that are very strong duelists, but we actually see Cold going in right now.
Mithy and Patrick are coming in from the top side of this fight as well. NukeDuck rolling forward with the tumble. Hit us, Sang, he's just dead. You just can't do it. Thank you very much. And that has to be a setup for Baron now.
And a lot of the pressure was simply because Urgot is pressing forward into that bottom lane. It forced Origen's hands. Unfortunately, Hilly just wasn't on the same page that Whippo was.
I guess you can't just say screw the Baron and go into another lane. It doesn't work out for you. Origen going to start out the Baron. They will take a lot of damage from this. Will Broxah go for the steal? That's the big question.
I don't know.
Oh, TP, they're going to go for the fight.
Here we are. This is it. Look at how quickly it goes down. Origen immediately disengaged. They get what they want. They found the teleport from Whippo. and from Nemesis as well. So big gains for Origen.
And now that alleviates so much pressure. Now we just heard that Vedius was talking about.
Flash away from Whippo as well. That's 2 summoners from him now.
The turnaround.
They open up the encore for Fnatic. They turn onto Alvari, but he puts the demonic ascension, and now he's a big tank in the front line. Cold almost goes down. Whippo pops the stopwatch, but he's going to fall very quickly. You have to think. Nemesis there. Whippo down, and now Origen continues to push forward. Alvari taking up so much. Hillersang's finally joined the fight, but no one's on Nuke Duck. Reckless gets a shot in, but it's not enough to take down the mid laner for Origen. Ends up being a 1-for-0 trade. Hillersang still getting chased down.
To the kill.
Alvari flashes in. That's another kill. And Broxah, Fnatic, Reckless, Nemesis, they can't do anything about this.
Now that's 2 members dead for Fnatic. Teleports are unavailable, and Origen have all 5 members alive. Cold is making his way back towards the Baron, and all 5 members are committing to it.
It needs to be noted that Broxah has both Smite and the Flash, and he is looking at coming up from the flank. I don't think he's gone through any vision.
3,000 HP left on the Baron.
Now they know, now they know.
He's going to hit the Q onto him. Patrick jumps across the wall. Broxah has to jump away, but he's already done for. And now the Baron can be secured by Origen. They took the time they needed. They read the manual. They took it step by step. And at 27 minutes, they secure the Baron.
And it's going to be so devastating, their ability to siege with double 80 carry. If they ever get to approach these towers, they will absolutely shred through them, which means the emphasis is on Fnatic. When they approach the towers, they must pull the trigger. They cannot sit by and let their base get whittled away.
And I really want to reinforce how difficult this composition from Origins is to play. They have no consistent, reliable engage. They have no easy win condition. They're very much reliant on a lot of outplays and a lot of small skirmishes going in their favor. And it all snowballed from punishing Hillersang, walking through the enemy jungle, finding that single pick. This one right here started the snowball effect.
And just the fact that Vayne does so much damage, doesn't matter how tanky Alistar is, and the confidence from Nuke Duck to chase into Fog of War to run Hilly down.
And you can see, this is when the fight in the mid lane starts. Fnatic are separated here. They recognize that Kha'Zix is on the top side, and they can go onto the 3. Now, Reckless with a good ulti almost kills off Cold, and if they find that kill, maybe it's enough. But then Origen go for the turnaround. Mithy and Alvari acting as the front line, just focusing down a single member in Bwipo. But now we see another fight in mid.
Fnatic going all in. They know they only have 1 shot to do it. Alvari goes golden, and now Fnatic have to get on the back foot because already there's so much damage coming out, and Nuke Duck hasn't even joined the party yet. He sets a load of Reckless notes back. Can't quite get the kill. The curtain's open. Nemesis down from Fnatic, and this is another kill. Hillersang falls. 3 down. Whippo falls as well. And Origen are just opening up the base of Fnatic now.
3 members are dead on the side of Fnatic. They're looking to go 0-2 in the first week. Origen will look to take down Fnatic.
They can actually push through the end here. Double 80 carry with the Baron up. There's only 2 members to stop it. I think it ends here.
It's over. It's done. Origen see the Nexus in their sight, and Nuke Duck flashes forward for Reckless, gets back to the fountain. Maybe Reckless can hold on. 1 Nexus tower down. Origen 5 men strong. Open up hell on the second, and Reckless and Broxah can do nothing about it. Origen write the next page in their history by beating Fnatic.
Next chapter, Fnatic 0-2 to start the LEC, from world champions to a false start and a brand new split for Spring.
Happy faces on the side of Origen. Many questioned how they would look at the beginning of the split. Would the cohesion be there? But what a way to take down Fnatic as well. A lot of it was down to individual outplays. Cold, he had an impressive early game on that Xin Zhao. But Nuke Duck was really the shining star on this Vayne. He did fantastically finding those picks, getting those outplays. Yes, he made 1 overextension in the top lane, but that was pretty much his only mistake in this entire game.
I do want to say team effort, though, for Origen. They made sure that Nuke Duck was able to constantly be aggressive in the lane, to constantly be punishing Nemesis. So it was the entire team controlling the river, setting up all that vision, and allowing him to pop off.
Including their coach, Andre Giotta. Like, the willingness to say, we have Lucian Braun bot lane, what should we pick next? Let's pick Vayne into Galio. Let's pick Vayne into these tanks and go for these big plays and let Nuke Duck really carry the team.
And think of how much more punishing that game could have been if the RNGs for the Dragons were things like double Infernal. You have complete control over the bottom side between Lucian and Braum, as well as the Vayne in the mid lane. Xin Zhao can just ping-pong between those two and take whatever he wants.
You do have to think for Fnatic, though, 0-2 in their first week of the LEC. We talk about how they are slow starters as a team, how they need time to reform, to judge exactly how they're going to play around Nemesis, and it felt like that was a major point of issue for them in this game.
It also feels like some teething problems for the team fights as well. Whippo either has super high highs for his team fights or really low lows, and I think it looks like a bit of communication problems. You know, that turnaround. Reckless is trying to find the snipe on Cold, but Whippo is running into the fight. He's the one who unfortunately overstays, gets caught out, and then his rest of the team is, do I turn and do I try to help Whippo, or do I leave him and make sure that there's 4 members to stop the Baron?
It's very similar to the issues that we saw yesterday for Fnatic. That cohesion just isn't quite there yet. But Fnatic were quite open about it when you were interviewing them, Medic, when you were on their live stream. They very much said, you can't expect us to just immediately demolish the rest of Europe. It will take some time. But I'm sure even they were not expecting to go 0-2 in their very first week in Origen. I was speaking to Deficio, he said it's the best case scenario fighting against Fnatic and G2 at the very beginning of the split. Worst case scenario, we lose to 2 of the best teams in Europe and we can grow from that. Best case scenario, we get a win off them and then we only get better and we build up more hype for the future matchup later on. They end their first week 1-1. Origen, I feel, can be very happy with how things have gone.
They definitely will, and what a first week of the LEC it has been. Of course, concluded all of our matches for the day, but we're not concluded with the highlights because I want to check out that final fight once again.
I mean, it's just highlight reel after highlight reel for Nukeduck, really.
So let's keep our eyes on how this one kicks off. Alfari's just pushing in mid. Fnatic want to try and punish him because they think he's out of position. He gets his ultimate off, he gets his Zhonya's off. He also has Mithy there to offer some defense, and Vayne isn't in the fight. But look at how uncoordinated Fnatic are. They're not sure if they want to re-engage or not. Nemesis is left on the back line. Reckless gets completely zoned out by Nukeduck, who has his eyes set on the primary carry for Fnatic. But before he can really do any damage, the rest of Fnatic fall apart.
I love that Vayne pick. I think it was so smart in the draft. Getting the Ginsu's Rage Blade alongside the Blade of the Ruin King just helps you work your way through those tanks. And it was, to me, it was a stroke of genius to pick that. And it just has this beautiful symmetry as well, with it being into the Galio when we saw Caps play that against Misfits.
And I hope we just continue to see more Vayne. I really like the kind of the versatility and the keystone options that she has right now, taking Kleptomancy in the mid lane, taking Hail of Blades in the bot lane. There's still the Press the Attack that's running around in the solo queue. So it seems that we're still deciding how we want to play the Vayne and how we want to be successful in the pick.
Just for your information, Mithy will be joining Shox and Dracos in the LEC post-game lobby. I can see him just removing his keyboard and mouse from the stage at the moment, so I assume he's going to be a couple of minutes before
Take your time,
he gets
Mithy.
there. It's all right. He can take his time. He's won 3 EULCS titles, okay? Don't you sass him, Frost. You come over here from the LPL and you
Never
sass.
But it was a fantastic game. It lived up to the hype. I hope the viewers at home enjoyed it as well.
I certainly
I'm
did.
sure many Fnatic fans will be disappointed, but again, it is a teething problem. It will take time for them to grow, and it is something that you can never afford to underestimate when it comes to Fnatic. They're a team that gets better, and they get better quickly. Let's think back to spring of last year.
Exactly.
We had nothing but criticism for Reckless and how he was underperforming, and then they ended up winning the split. Last split, it was very much around. They didn't even have Reckless. They started off their week, I believe, in similar fashion, going 0-2, trying funnel twice, failing twice, and then they ended up winning the split.
And making Worlds Finals.
And making Worlds Finals. So Fnatic is a team that you should never underestimate. They had a rough first week, but you can always expect them to bounce back.
As we close out the week, there's one more important matter to settle. It's who is our key player of the game for our match of the week. Is it Nukeduck, is it Cold, or is it that man Reckless? Head on over to @LollySports on Twitter and make sure you vote. Like, I think this is a tough one for me, because I think Nukeduck was the most standout player in terms of I saw him do the most. But I think Cold's early jungle pathing was actually really strong as well.
I mean, that said, Cold was really set up for the fact that he had 2 lanes that were winning or constantly pressured forward, so I think it just kind of feeds into itself. So I'm still going to go with Nukeduck. I'm still going to support the Vayne.
Yeah.
That's fine. You guys have
joining
your
the
own
hype
vote.
train? Are you going to be our new conductor?
Don't say it.
You've
Do
got
not
to ticket out.
say it is
We
the
can
year
print
of
them
the
off for you.
duck.
We can
Don't
print
do
them
it.
out for you. It feels like it might be the year of some crackers. It might be crackers.
Does he always do this?
Yes, he does. Let's check in with Law and see what Origen's jungler and mid laner have to say after that win.
Thank you very much, guys. New year and new team for both of you. How satisfying is it to end this first week on a win, Cold?
You want to take it, or?
I said cold, so this one is for you.
Oh, sorry. So right now I'm pretty happy with the game. I think we played a solid game, so that is kind of what matters. Yesterday we played well at some aspects, but others we kind of failed, and I was kind of disappointed yesterday. Like, it's the first game of the season, and you really want to show like that this team is made to be able to compete against even the best like G2, and I felt like we didn't really show what we can do if we played our best yesterday. So I'm happy we kind of redeemed ourselves today.
Absolutely, you've been able to bounce back brilliantly, and I want to come to what happened yesterday. What did you talk about with the team and the coaching staff to make it better today, Young Duck?
Well, it was mostly like we were not used to play against that draft we faced yesterday, and we were caught by surprise, like say the least. You know, we just didn't know how to play, so it was more like we just tried to understand how that cheese or like that strategy would work, but we knew we wouldn't face that today. So today we were more confident playing against something we are more used to play against.
And you put up a really solid draft here, some innovations, the Vayne in the mid lane. Can you talk me through this pick? Why did you pick Vayne?
Why did I pick Vayne?
Yeah.
Just because they had many tanks and I can easily lane against Galio. So like once, you know, late game hits, you one-shot everything. So yeah.
What were the win conditions of your draft here today?
I think mid lane, lane kingdom, and then we take it from there.
And can you talk to me about the Jin Zhao with the Hail of Blade? It seems like it's pretty broken right now. What makes it so strong?
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of broken, honestly. Like you win any 1v1, and you even get. I even got surprised when I played against it the first time that you just proc the knock up so fast, and I don't know. There has to be made some changes about that one, but we will see. It also has some counterplay, so it's not like you can't play against it, but I think it's definitely something we will see more in the upcoming weeks.
We'll see about the next patch then. Other subject here, but I have to ask you guys, because we heard so much about Origen and the coaching staff around it, with Refresh, with Astralis. How is everything working? What are your weeks? What makes the coaching staff and the organization so strong as a whole, Nuke Duck?
It's because there is like a performance team back in Denmark where we live, and it's Casper that runs it, and he has a lot of like friends or colleagues that are like specializing in different fields of performance, and those guys are basically just trying to help us and Astralis to perform as well as we can, and they're very experienced, and they're very good in all across the field.
How about you, Cold? How different is it from what you knew so far with other organizations?
Quite different, I would say. For me, it's kind of like a perfect match. I've said this before in interviews, but I come from a background based a lot around sports, and what the performance team here in Origen wants to do is to bring us to become more professional athletes. So we're going to be esports athletes and focus a lot on what we're doing in the daily life to make us better players. And so living in Denmark and this environment is perfect for me, and I feel like this team will be performing at a very high level in the upcoming weeks.
And I'm really looking forward to see how you guys develop around the year. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And to wrap up this day and this first week, we're going to send it back to Shocks for post-game lobby. Take it away.